The wrestling world is mourning the sudden loss of AEW star Brodie Lee. Tonight, All Elite Wrestling announced John Huber's passing. AEW issued the following statement, quote, "The All Elite Wrestling family is heartbroken in an industry filled with good people. John Huber was exceptionally respected and beloved in every way. A fierce and captivating talent and a thoughtful mentor, and simply a very kind soul that starkly contradicted his persona as Mr. Brodie Lee. John's love for his wife Amanda and children Brodie and Nolan was evident to all of us who were fortunate to spend time with him, and we send our love and support to his beautiful family today and always." John's popularity among his peers and influence on the wrestling world was worldwide and transcended AEW. So this loss will be felt by many for a long time. We were privileged at AEW to call John Huber a brother, a friend, and one of our own, close quote. Huber was known also as Luke Harper in his days with WWE. Brodie Lee signed with AEW in March of 2020 and was immediately put in the leadership role of the Exalted One, in charge of the Dark Order. Now, their skits on BTE and his role as the group's leader are legendary. And the thing that struck me as I'm reading this is that Lee never got to perform in front of a full crowd in his time at AEW, something that he had talked about in interviews that he was looking forward to doing. Because remember, when he debuted in Rochester, that was just before the pandemic had kind of gripped the country and things started to shut down. Now, he has not appeared on AEW TV for several weeks after his dog collar match with Cody Rhodes. Lee won the TNT title from Rhodes in a memorable match just over the summer. Now, Amanda Huber, the wife of John, commented on her husband and what led to his passing. Quote, "My best friend died today. I never wanted to write out those words. My heart is broken. The world saw him as an amazing Brodie Lee, a.k.a. Luke Harper, but he was my best friend, my husband, and the greatest father you would ever meet. No words can express the love I feel and how heartbroken I am right now. He passed surrounded by loved ones after a hard-fought battle with a non-COVID-related lung issue. The Mayo Clinic is literally the best team of doctors and nurses in the world who surrounded me with constant love. On top of that, I can't express my love and admiration for the way All Elite Wrestling has treated not only my husband, but myself and my kids. Margaret Slavy, a bunch Brandy, Matt and Nick Jackson, Kenny Omega, Tony Khan, and the rest of the team have helped keep me standing and pick up all the broken pieces. I have been surrounded by so much love and incredible people, I can't tag them all, but they know who they are, and I don't think they will ever know how thankful I am for them," close quote. Just a sad, sad news today. Now, we at Pro Wrestling News Hub, of course, are praying for the Huber family. This is just such a sad thing. On a personal note, back in March of 2018, I actually had the pleasure of interviewing John, the actor, about a movie, Civil War horror movie that he was part of that was filmed in Rochester, and we got a chance to talk about that and his life in the WWE. And he just came across, I didn't know what to expect because you see him on TV, but he was just a real nice guy, a totally family man, and I really enjoyed getting the chance to interview him. And I'm just, as the wrestling world is heartbroken, we at Pro Wrestling News Hub are totally heartbroken. And this is just another notch in the suckiest year ever, which is 2020. And again, thoughts and prayers with the Huber family and everyone involved in AEW. This is definitely a dark, sad time for everyone. What is up, my friends? It's been a very difficult week for, I'm sure, all of you guys in the AEW world with the passing of Brodie Lee. On this week's show, we talk about the tribute show that was on. We also have a John Huber interview that we did in 2018. This is when we were all wrestling, and he was part of the WWE. He came out with a movie called Mohawk, which you can find on iTunes and other places that he was in. It's actually a pretty decent movie. We talk about that. It was my chance. I was the first interview I ever did with a WWE, a pro wrestler, which we plan on 2021 having more of those. But you get to check out that and listen to that interview. We have that, plus your reaction to everything that happened this week. We do that on the social media, plus some news. Trent's going to be out for a while. What's going on with Riho, and so much more, my friends. It was definitely a tough week for all of us. So how do you get in touch with the show? Email podcast at Pro Wrestling News Hub with your MP3s, or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. Remember, cutoff is 6 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. Leave us a review on Apple iTunes. We'll read it on the show, and make sure on our YouTube channel you like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate if you did that. So without further ado, folks, we'll get into the Brodie Lee tribute show. The latest going on in the news. We did not get the ratings yet, even though I thought I saw somewhere there was like 977,000, almost a million viewers on the show, and really impacted NXT's ratings. But we'll have that official stuff on ProWrestlingNewsHub.com. Plus, if you're interested, our fantasy wrestling app is actually live right now too. So you can go to fantasy.prowrestlingnewshub.com. We'll talk all about that kind of stuff next week, but let's get into a tough week that was AEW. What a night of wrestling. AEW Dynamite results for 12/30/2020, the final episode of AEW Dynamite for 2020, and also the Brodie Lee, John Huber tribute show started off. We knew it was going to be an emotional night, and it totally was. They started the night off with a 10-ring salute. Tears started flowing right then and there. Then followed by Jon Moxley talking about Brodie Lee. That was very emotional as well, and I thought it was so fitting for him to be the first one to talk about Brodie and their time on the road and kids. And I think Jon Moxley really hit that promo, that straight from the heart. If you haven't had a chance to see it, it really kind of set the tone for the show. First matchup was the Young Bucks and Colt Cabana versus Matt Hardy and Private Party. Emotions running high. You could see Colt Cabana in tears when they came out. And honestly, and I tweeted about this was Colt Cabana's by far best match ever on AEW. Winner, Young Bucks and Colt Cabana. I gave this a 4. This was the elite match of the night. It was such a great way to start the show. Private Party was good. Matt Hardy, you know how I feel about him. But Colt Cabana really stole the show for me. The Young Bucks always put on a clinic anytime they're in there too, and it was just a great match, and I felt so happy for Colt Cabana because we've been kind of low on Colt Cabana, but man, he put on a clinic, a performance for the ages on that match. So the Young Bucks and Colt Cabana kick off the show, and they're our elite match of the night. I gave this one a 4. Darby Allin checks in talking about Brodie Lee wanting to, he never had an ego, and one guy he always wished he could wrestle. Next up, we had Eddie Kingston, Butcher and Blade versus Lance Archer, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson. Lance Archer comes out in the Brodie Lee, Luke Harper get-up, which I thought was great. And I thought, too, I was like, man, that shirt isn't dirty enough. You need to get that shirt dirty. To really get the Luke Harper look to it, but he came out. That was great. Another fantastic match. Winner, Lance Archer, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson. I also give this a 4. These wrestlers were on fire. I mean, Stu Grayson was on fire. Evil Uno was on fire. Lance Archer was on fire. Butcher and the Blade, Eddie Kingston came out, talked a little trash too, and they went at it. And again, all these guys, veteran good guys, went in there and just totally killed it. That's all I could say about that first hour of wrestling. Everything was on point, exciting, and these guys were on fire, and it was just great to watch. Then we had more wrestlers talking about Brodie Lee. Bryce Remsburg talking in the promo, saying if there was a Mount Rushmore of wrestling dads, Brodie Lee would be on the face. I mean, he was completely emotional talking about Brodie Lee and their time and hanging out together. Again, still emotions running high. Then we got a tag match, MJF, Santana, and Ortiz versus Hangman, Adam Page, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. Still motions running high with all of those guys. MJF comes out with the Santana and Ortiz gear, which I thought was a great twist. And MJF went right up to -1, which is Brodie Lee Jr., and started talking trash to him. So you knew something was going to go down. And by the way, MJF still talked trash about him after the show. Then the most holy cow moment of the night, Eric Rowan, remember him from the Wyatt family and the Bludgeon Brothers. He comes out and takes on Wardlow. That was awesome too. The crowd was going nuts. Winner, Hangman Adam Page, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. -1 got involved, hit MJF with a kendo stick. You knew it was coming, which was a great pop too. And again, another fantastic match. I gave this one a 4. They were just killing it in the first hour, just on fire. It was a great tribute and great wrestling throughout. I mean, John Silver was crushing it. He put on one move on MJF, I think it was, where even Chris Jericho was like, well, I've never seen that before. I mean, just on fire. All these guys, motions running high, but wrestling, what's off. So that was a great match. Next, we get the tag match, Anna Jay, Tay Kante versus Dr. Britt Baker and Penelope Ford. This one, winner Anna Jay and Tay Kante. I gave this a 3.5. This was a good women's match. We've talked about the women's division at length before, getting better. I mean, and somebody for like Anna Jay, who is relatively new. I mean, she just continues to improve and be putting her in there with Britt Baker. I mean, Britt Baker, to me, is probably the better of the 4 wrestlers. Penelope Ford looked good. Tay Kante looks vicious out there. She looked okay, too. She looked good as well. And it was a well put together match. I mean, they got a lot of the commercials in between that. But still, I thought it was a good match, and I was definitely interested. I thought maybe Dr. Britt Baker could take it, but Anna Jay and Tay Kante with the win there. Chris Jericho talks about Brodie. Again, another great story from him. Bring Brodie Lee, John Huber into AEW, so there's a great thing about that. Also, the next match, tag match, Cody Rhodes, Orange Cassidy, and Preston 10 Vance versus Team Taz, Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, and Powerhouse Hobbs. I was like, wow, we're getting this one early. We're going to go long. What's going on here? And again, just another great match. I gave this a slightly less. Cody Rhodes, Orange Cassidy, Preston Vance with the win. I gave this a 3.75 just because I thought the other matches were so great. This one, I mean, again, you had some commercials in there, so it was messing with the flow. Preston Vance looked great in this match, just tearing it up. Orange Cassidy was good. I mean, right when Orange Cassidy does his gimmick, they were going to commercial, which kind of screwed up the flow a little bit. But it was still a great match there. Then after the match, we get Darby Allin and Sting appear. Everybody's freaking out about that. They come out the same door, wonder what's going on there. And then I'm still looking at the time, is that there's still time left in the show. We then come out Cody Rhodes. I mean, just emotional, trying to keep it together, doing a Brodie Lee tribute. His son comes out, wife and other son comes out. They talk, hand him over the TNT title, and then we get a closing package on in memory of John Huber. So it was a fantastic night of wrestling, a great tribute show. I mean, Vince McMahon, bro, you better watch out because Tony Khan knows what he's doing. And a lot of those WWE fans, I'm sure, and Luke Harper fans came over to listen and watch and see the tribute to Brodie Lee. So I'm really curious, if watching this type of wrestling, I'm being like, wow, this was a lot. As emotional as it was still a lot of fun to watch. Will they convert to AEW fans in the future? Card for next week's January 6th AEW Dynamite, New Year's Smash Night, number 1. Of course, everything got pushed back because of the tragic death of Brodie Lee in a tribute show. Same thing as last week when we talked about it, AEW World Championship match, Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix. Super excited about that. Tag match, Young Bucks and SCU versus Acclaimed in the hybrid. I believe this was added. I don't remember them talking about this last week. These tag matches that they've been having has been really good. So we'll see how that goes. Chris Jericho will be back on commentary. He did a good job on Dynamite this week. Snoop Dogg will appear. He was scheduled to appear this night, but it was supposed to be night 2. I guess with him, they're just going to put him on night 1 instead. We get Jake Hager versus Wardlow singles match. I'm looking forward to that, seeing how that goes. We got the singles match, AEW's Women's Championship, Hikaru Shida versus Abaddon. I'm really excited about that one. That's going to be a great match. Jon Moxley returns to AEW. We'll hear what he has to say. Of course, he did a vignette, but he didn't appear on in live in person. He'll be back. And then, of course, in 2 weeks, we got, I don't know, this came out that it's Pac versus Eddie Kingston, perhaps. And we've got stuff FTR and Darby Allin, and I guess these are the people who will be involved. Maybe we'll get Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. And who knows what else will go on next week. But we got Darby Allin versus Brian Cage for the TNT Championship match. And then, of course, Cody Rhodes versus Matt Sydal. That's all coming in 2 weeks. AEW Dark results for December 29th. This is the last Dark of 2020. They did not have any pictures. Usually I like to do pictures along with AEW Dark, but they didn't have any. I think they were just really playing low-key because of everything going on with Brodie Lee, and they wanted to get that show ahead. So they did not post any pictures. We got Rey Fenix versus Vary Morales, winner Rey Fenix. Lindsay Snow versus Penelope Ford, winner Penelope Ford. Dark Order, John Silver and Alex Reynolds versus Sean Dean and Tyson Maddox, winner Dark Order. Anna Jay versus Jasmine Allure, winner Anna Jay. Dr. Britt Baker hosted the waiting room with Matt Sydal. Ryzen, Nick Comarto and James Tapia versus Team Taz, Starks, Cage, and Powerhouse Hobbs. Winner, Team Taz. Fuego del Sol versus Griff Garrison. I was like, whoa, is Fuego going to get the win? But no, Griff Garrison got the win in that one. And Peter Avalon seems to took a little liking to Griff Garrison. We'll see how that goes. Santana and Ortiz versus Terrell and Terrence Hughes. Winner, Santana Ortiz. Aaron Solo versus Sammy Guevara. Sammy gets the win. Chaos Project, Luther and Serpentico. Something going on with those two. Maybe they could be breaking up soon versus Ariel Levy and El Suevo del Puerto Rico. Chaos Project took the win there. Leva Bates versus Maddie Rinkowski. Leva Bates takes the win. Danny Limelight versus Matt Sydal. Sydal takes the win. Take Kante versus Vert Vixen. Winner, Take Kante. Royal Money, Baron Black and Mike Verna versus the Gun Club. Billy, Austin, and Colton, winner of the Gun Club. And finally, SCU wins. Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian versus Hybrid 2, Angelico, and Jack Evans. So SCU is not breaking up anytime too. And that's AEW Dark for this week. The new Brodie Lee t-shirt sets a new Pro Wrestling Tees record. Now, this just comes on the heels of Sting's big t-shirt sale during the episode from the Brodie Lee tribute special. To coincide with AEW's Brodie Lee Celebration of Life edition of the show, Pro Wrestling Tees announced a new Exalted in Heaven t-shirt for Brodie Lee. Pro Wrestling Tees also announced that the new t-shirt broke their Pro Wrestling Tees record for most shirts sold within 24 hours. Ryan Barkin of Pro Wrestling Tees wrote that in less than 30 days after Sting beat their record for most t-shirts sold in 24 hours, Brodie Lee broke that record before the end of last night's AEW Dynamite after less than 2 hours. Barkin also wrote that all the proceeds from Brodie's shirt will go to the Huber family. Pro Wrestling Tees then added on Twitter that up until recently, Freshly Squeezed Orange Cassidy had the highest selling t-shirt of 2020, but he had just dethroned in just 4 hours after the release of Brodie Lee's tribute shirt, and now as the highest selling t-shirt of 2020 will go to Mr. Brodie Lee. Eric Rowan's AEW status following his appearance, according to Wrestling Observer newsletter, is that AEW's deal was just a special appearance on the Brodie Lee tribute, and that was it. Dave Metzler also said that anything can happen in the future, and obviously things can change, but as of right now, Eric Rowan, a.k.a. Redbeard, is not part of the AEW roster, and no talks have been made. Because of the Brodie Lee tribute show, they moved the 2-point show, AEW Games show, hosted by Kenny Omega, will debut January 6th, immediately following AEW Dynamite. So you can check that out on youtube.com/AEW Games. Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers are set to appear on this week's Impact Wrestling. This was announced next week, so you can check it out on Access TV or on Twitch to see Kenny Omega with Don Callis and the Good Brothers making an appearance on Impact, setting up their pay-per-view, which I believe is scheduled the 16th at Hard to Kill in 2021. So this will be setting up that appearance. So you can check out Kenny Omega on Impact. As each time Kenny Omega has appeared on Impact, the ratings have gone down. We'll see how this does for next week. Riho is reportedly finished with Japan's Stardom. Riho is one of the greatest, if not one of the biggest women's wrestlers in AEW. And Dave Metzler noted on Sunday's daily update on F4W Online that Riho has finished up with Stardom. The report indicates that Stardom wanted their talents to be exclusive to them, which is an issue for Riho, as she's still under contract at AEW. Riho beat Nyla Rose in the women's division singles bout in the inaugural, and she became the inaugural champion at Capital One Arena back in October 2019. Riho was AEW's world champion for 133 days before losing to Nyla Rose at Revolution. Riho's last appearance on All Elite Wrestling was in March 18th on Dynamite when she competed in a four-way match with Hikaru Shida, Chris Statlander, and Penelope Ford. She has been in AEW since then due to the whole you-know-what going on. So since her absence, she's mostly worked for Stardom, but now that she's done with Stardom, could we see Riho back in AEW soon? Trent will be out of action for a few months due to a torn pec. If you noticed on AEW Dynamite, Trent came out with a sling, and that's because he has a torn pec muscle and be out of action a few months. An injury angle was done a previous week where Trent Best Friends was shown hurt badly and because of Miro. So what will happen now? No word on when he will return, but Trent is out for several months. One thing, if you didn't notice, that Shawn Spears, based on his appearance, talking about how he was being used well in AEW, it appears that now Shawn Spears has been removed from AEW's roster page and edits his social media. So we're not really sure what's going on with Shawn Spears, but it looks like this was 2 weeks ago when he talked about, maybe this wasn't the spot for him and he's trying to do better. And I said that he's digging out of his hole for 18 months that Tony Khan and his favorite EVP, Cody, pushed him into. So we'll see. But according to AEW's roster page, Shawn Spears has now been removed. So he might be out of TV for quite some time. Did you know you can get all the latest AEW news right from your phone? That's right, we're excited to announce the Pro Wrestling News Hub app. That's right, and it's free. You can get it for your iPhone. You can get it for your Google Android phone. And they're both free. You get all our breaking AEW news information from Pro Wrestling News Hub right from your phone. You can just visit the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. What do you get? You get the latest news from Pro Wrestling News Hub. You get push notifications when a new post or story comes out. You get our podcast on the phone. You can leave us a review on iTunes, links to our social media, and so much more. All you have to do is, if you have an iPhone, go to the iTunes store and just look up Pro Wrestling News Hub and download it. Just type in AEW News. You can get our phone app, and guess it is free, my friends. It's free. So head over You get all the latest news right from your phone, from your friends from Pro Wrestling News Hub, whether you have an iPhone or an Android. And it's best of all, it's free. Had a chance to sit down and talk with a little bit with Jonathan Huber, a.k.a. Luke Harper, about his new movie, Mohawk, which can be found on Amazon and iTunes. You can purchase it. And we got to talking. We started talking about the movie. We started talking about The Miz. And we also were talking about his T-shirt from his Wyatt family days. So check it out. Jonathan.
Yes.
Hey, Mark from allwrestling.com.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Very good.
Cool. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
No problem.
About your new movie. So I guess to start, just give us a little background on the movie and tell the fans what it's all about.
So I think that this is a period piece that is not your typical good guys, bad guys, white man chasing Native American story. It is a relevant story to today's what's happening in today's world. And it's a thought-provoking piece that will make you wonder who's good and who's bad.
Yeah, I mean, we took a look at it the other day and watched it, and it's definitely more on the horror side of things. Would you say?
I would. I mean, I think some of the aspects of horror are in there, but I think I would consider it a drama before I would a horror.
I mean, and suspense too. I mean, there's a lot of that
absolutely.
going on too.
Oh yeah. And I think that's more of the horror element of the director and the production company. I don't know if they could, but I think that it's deeper than most horror would get.
Gotcha. Yeah. So this was filmed in upstate New York?
Yep, in Syracuse, up on an Onondaga reserve, in the middle of the woods.
Yeah. So how long was did the filming go on for?
I was out there for 3 weeks.
Oh wow. And was this during was it cold or was it?
It was the middle of summer, so we were wearing those giant costumes and sweating.
Yes, yeah. I was thinking that.
And I was actually in the middle of a knee surgery rehab, so that brace in the movie was helpful.
See, I was going to get to that question. I noticed that you were wearing a knee brace, but then the knee brace sort of comes into play later.
Yep, so that was written into the movie before they even sought me out. So when we did the interview, he was like, "Hey, your character in the movie has a knee brace." He's like, Would that deter you at all? And I was like, "Oh, well, here's the thing. I have a knee brace on right now because I am rehabbing. So no, it's absolutely fine." And so he's like, "Well, we need you to limp." I said, "Yeah, no problem."
How did you get involved with this film?
So I got a call. I was sitting on my couch rehabbing, and I got a call from Talent Relations saying, "Hey, someone's interested in using you for their movie." And I said, "Oh, okay." I assumed they were looking for somebody else. And then a couple of days later, the director called me, Ted, and we did a Skype interview and audition, which I thought I failed miserably.
Yeah.
And and then about 3 days later, he called and said, "Hey, can you be in Syracuse in a month?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, well, where would we fly you out of?" And I said, "Well, Rochester, New York." I said, "I think I can drive."
Oh, okay. So you're from...
I live an hour and a half from the set.
Oh, so that even worked out. Did that have anything to do with him picking you?
No, they had no idea.
Oh. All right.
So it worked out swimmingly because it was weird that the location was perfect. The character had a knee brace. It was a weird set of circumstances.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's... So now my wife and I watched it, and now she's kind of into the princess, Hallmark movie type channels. I wouldn't say that this was kind of her.
Oh, no.
genre. So where can fans see this film that you're in?
So this one is it's on everywhere right now. I know iTunes, Amazon were the two big ones, and I know we're pushing the iTunes one particularly just because I think they put us on the storefront this morning.
Oh, great!
So but pretty much any on-demand service. I know I have Prime, and I looked today, and you can get it there for rent and purchase.
Okay.
So that was pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. So this is your first kind of film that you've done?
Yep, this is the first anything outside of professional wrestling, acting-wise, I've done. Now,
you have any other projects now with this under your belt?
I would love to. I mean, I just did Damnation for USA, which was just a little brief guest spot, so that was really cool. But other than that, nothing in the fire right now, but hopefully soon.
And would WWE have they approached you now? Maybe after they see this movie, they might be like, "Hey."
So they got me Mohawk and they got me Damnation. So hopefully, if this gets out and gets some good traction, hopefully that will open up some more avenues for their film company too.
Okay, great. So now that you have this film underneath your belt, now if we can kind of gear a little bit towards the wrestling side of things.
Absolutely.
Now are you going to have any conversations with The Miz or John Cena now that you're kind of part of their club now?
I actually have had several conversations with The Miz, kind of just to help me navigate the lands of acting, because it's a very, very different world, and I don't think people realize that until you get in it. And so to jump in feet first, I was a little nervous. So I did reach out to The Miz. Other than that, not too much advice given.
Gotcha. Now, I want to go to your new gimmick now, the Bludgeon Brothers. Like, how did that all come about?
That came about with me and Rowan being frustrated with sitting backstage and meeting with Vince McMahon and brainstorming to the point of this was born out of that. And basically, when he told us that we could carry giant mallets around, we said sold.
There you go.
Because for us, basically, the name of the game is to get back on TV. We had both been kind of off for an extended period of time. We were both incredibly frustrated. We thought we were being wasted. We thought we have something to offer, and this gives us the platform to show that.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, you guys are definitely destroying everybody in your path.
Now, right now.
But now, so my final question for you is going back to your old gimmick, kind of with the Wyatt family, and I have to ask you about the shirt that you wore there. I mean, it was kind of gnarly looking, and it kind of hasn't really been washed. Like, can you tell us anything about that?
If you're a fan of indie wrestling at all, you can go back to, I think, 2007, 2008, and you can see me wrestle in Chikara, and you could see me wrestle in a tank top, and you could see me wrestle in a tank top that doesn't look like the one I have in WWE. But it's the same one.
It is the same
and
one.
People do not believe me. I had 3 tank tops, which I wore out terribly, fixed them many times. I had people rip them in the ring that I swore at them and then would fix them. And they're hanging in my closet now.
So they were never
the same ones.
Same ones, never washed, never.
Always washed. Always washed. But that's what they look like now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So back in Chikara, I used to have to wipe the floors with them to get them to look the part. And eventually, after so many washes, the color would just stick. And I kept them.
Oh.
So a lot of people don't believe me, but it's very. My wife's not happy about it.
Cool. Excellent. Cool. Well, hey, thanks, Jonathan, for talking to us. I know you're a busy guy.
Thank you, man.
Mohawk is out now. iTunes, Amazon, you can get it anywhere, and I think the fans should check it out. So thanks for joining me.
I said, I logged on to Amazon Prime, and it was very cool to see it there. So please look at it. I think if wrestling fans give it a chance, like you said, it's a different piece. There's pieces of horror, suspense, and drama in it, and I think if you give it a chance and you think about the movie, I think you'll love it.
Cool. Well, definitely, I recommend it. It was a fun little ride, especially like the second half of the movie. We were both kind of all dialed in, like what's going to happen.
It's really awesome.
Yeah. So cool. Hey, thanks a lot for checking in with us, and we'll have everybody check it out.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks. All right, let's get into our social media stuff. First, Yusuf Adam says, thank you, talking about last week's AEW ratings that did well. And Tony Ace from our podcast we did last week, he says, AEW. I agree with you there on that one as well. On to the Facebook's reaction to the Brodie Lee tribute. Jason says, a very good tribute. He gave it a thumbs up. We totally agree with him there. Also on the results, Vivek Patel says it was the best tribute I have seen. I haven't seen Eddie's tribute. All the time during Dynamite, I was crying and enjoying both at the same time. Yeah, it was definitely a show for the ages as far as like it was a great show. It was so emotional. It was. I'm glad the show they did it this way. It was just a very mixed emotion. I'll tell you to be honest. I mean, I cried at least 5 times. I think, and it's still like just upsetting and it was tough. But Tony Khan and crew knocked it out of the park. What can we say? On to the Twitters. AEW fan page 01 talking about Eric Rowan's AEW status. People will surely want to see him in AEW aligned with the Dark Order. Could we? I was thinking that too. I mean, who else could really run the Dark Order? But it would be so tough because it's like, well, you wouldn't have been there. I have no idea. I have no idea how you can book the Dark Order now. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it without Brodie Lee? I mean, the Dark Order can't break up. Does Colt Cabana take charge? Like, do you maybe have people battling, like maybe Colt Cabana and Adam Page battle it out for control of Dark Order? But Page has not really ever been. He's always going to be a loner. Do you have Eric Rowan come in and be the leader? Does Matt Hardy come in and be the leader of Dark Order? But it's just going to be so different without Brodie as that main guy. I just don't know how they're going to book Dark Order going forward. I'd be interesting to hear what your thoughts are out there. Email us, call us, how you would book Dark Order going forward. I have no clue. No clue. He also says, best show of 2020, 10 stars, period. I agree. I mean, it was a fantastic show. So emotional. What else can you say about that? And Tony Khan is the man when it comes to booking stuff. He also talks about when MJF was taking a shot at Brodie Lee Jr. following his kendo stick shot. I knew something was going to happen when he went out and talked trash to Brodie Lee Jr. I was like, oh, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And the kendo stick hit him in the head. You knew it was going to happen. That was a pretty great moment. He said the best heel on the planet right now, talking about MJF. Totally agree with you there. AEW SUPA on Twitter says Tony Khan, AEW Pro Wrestling News Hub. After the very sad passing of Brodie Lee, booking from my lounge chair, Evil Uno assumes control of Dark Order as he's next in line. Dark Order then goes on an absolute rampage, putting Evil Uno in AEW title picture and Stu Grayson in the AEW TNT title picture. That would be interesting. Picture, and then Adam Silver and Alex Renner in the tag title picture. This could be a fitting tribute to Brodie and his legacy. Again, I don't know how we're going to book Dark Order after this. It's one that, that's a good idea. Fans clearly you can't just ignore what happened, starting next week, and then all of a sudden it doesn't factor. How do they do BTE episodes now that Brodie Lee is not going to be there? Like, it's just, I don't know. We'll just have to tune in and find out on that. KJ33404591 says, I want to send the family of my greatest condolences. He was one of my favorite wrestlers. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. I mean, where do you lean on when these kind of things happen? Is your faith, and you just, all we can do is pray and for the Huber family, and you can buy the shirt. Tons of you have. I think I might do that as well. And it's just one of those, how else can you say 2020 sucked? That's all I can say about that. That was just a terrible year. And that's how you close it out. I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. Salty Sea Dog says that he's part of if you want to hang out with Salty Sea Dog, he joined our fantasy league, and that's up and running. Blast from the Past Hey Mark, it's Tim, aka One Man Faction. Nice to see an all AEW news site. I'm no longer a WWE fan. Just wondering what happened to the old site. Looks like the new owners and hasn't been updated in a long time. This seems really cool. What I need now, I will check out the rest of this site. Well, thanks for asking. Yeah, I don't know. So I owned Impact Wrestling. I sold that. I owned All Wrestling. I sold that. And then the owners of All Wrestling right now, they're not doing anything with it. And it's just sitting there gathering dust. I don't know what's going on over there at All Wrestling, but One Man Faction, thanks for coming back. Thanks for hanging out on the podcast. And I think a lot of fans, I think even especially after how WWE handled the Luke Harper, John Huber dying thing versus how AEW handled it, and fans who might not normally would have tuned into AEW did so and watched a great show with new characters that they've never seen before. I think 2021 is going to be a huge year for AEW and a continue downward spiral of in 2021 for WWE. I don't even, everybody who watches WWE complains about the product. You don't hear people complaining about AEW. Maybe it will happen. The honeymoon might be over. That was a fantastic show. What else can you say? And speaking of fantastic, let's check in with you know who, Mr. Fourth Row.
It's a go for another phone call there from Mr. Fourth Row. Hey, AEW Week in Review and Mr. Mark, let's get right into it and answer the question that was posed to us for this week. Breakout stars for next year, for 2021. I do not see a lot of men possibly going at this at what we know currently right now, just because I believe a lot of the men are established, been around for a while, and we don't really necessarily have a lot of new men to talk about. But some of the people that I do have on my eye, in my view, is going to be Hobbs, the powerhouse Hobbs. He could be a breakout star. And then when it comes to women, I think that Jade Cargill could be one of those women that break out next year. And, let's be honest, we do need a lot of women to kind of step up and maybe hopefully balance out the shows to have a decent amount of women versus men's matches, possibly even go 50-50. I don't know if the roster is 50-50. I feel like maybe the roster might be like a 70-30, so maybe we need to hopefully maybe see that. And then, of course, will this be well, we already are having, of course, the rise of Abaddon getting that push to the championship. So, finally we had to wait, let it simmer for Abaddon and get her going. And of course, I'm going to be a big fan in her corner, so I'd like to see a lot of women as well. And one other thing I'd like to talk about is, of course, Brodie Lee, the untimely passing of him. Do we think that they will make a alumni now of AEW, or even possibly a Hall of Fame? I'm going to be honest with you, I have not watched last night's episode, the December 30th version of AEW yet, because I just had some things going on, but I wanted to get this recorded and get it out to everybody. So I want to wish everybody a happy new year. Be safe. Let's hope and wish that 2021 gets better for us and everything like that. Excited about Fantasy League, so that's one great thing that we'll see in 2021 when it comes to us, our community. And as always, that is my view, not from the cheap seats, not from the most expensive seats, but from the fourth row.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fourth Row, for checking in. Hobbs, I don't know. And Jade Cargill, I mean, we haven't seen anything from her really. And I mean, I'm sure they're, and both of them are working really hard. Hobbs, maybe. Jade, she might be a year out. I mean, Anna Jay certainly improved a lot this year. I think they're very high on Jade Cargill. What happens now with her angle now that Brandy is pregnant, and what's going on with Shaq and Cody, and we'll see about that. And then alumni section, AEW Hall of Fame. I mean, really, you're gonna have to wait 10 years before you can start talking that kind of stuff. But yeah, Brodie would absolutely be the first person named, and I wonder if they do some kind of tournament or some kind of thing every year to just kind of remember him by, because he was such a big factor in his short period of time in AEW. And so yeah, and I agree. Also, talking about fantasy wrestling is out there now. It is open. It is in alpha stage. You go to fantasy.prowrestlingnewshub.com. You go to our site. You can actually see it on the link. We'll talk more about it and who does well. And it will be part of the podcast. Just like you listen to a fantasy football podcast, we're going to talk about like who had a big week, who didn't have a big week. And we'll get into that. And we'll talk about who the people are in our beta test league. And you can go in right now and create your own league. And set up your draft time, but it's in alpha stage. I really want to see how things progress when we do a draft and how it holds up. It works fine for me, but I need to see how it works with other people. I think there might be some data issues depending on where you live. Could be a factor, so that the draft piece needs to be worked out. But everything else seems to be working pretty good. So you check it out, fantasy.prowrestlingnewshub.com. Also, it was New Year's. And I bought a little bit of the bubbly, and I'm showing it right now here on the podcast. I got this as soon as they announced it again, and I wanted to have it for the end of New Year because 2020 sucks. And I wanted to go out and, especially as much as AEW has meant to me and you guys as the fans. And so I got it. And really be honest with you, now I know some people that I was with were kind of like, well, okay, whatever, you're just a mark. Mark is a mark for AEW. But I actually thought it tasted good. I have been to many, I'm in my 40s. I know you guys checking online, you thought I was 20-something. But no, I've been doing this for a while. And I've been at many a party that had champagne. And I've always been like, it's too dry. I liked it. This was probably my favorite champagne I've drank. Was a little bit of the bubbly. So I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, well, it's probably going to suck or it doesn't taste as good. But no, I was like, hey, this is good. I would get this. If I'm doing champagne, this would be my go-to. And of course, I don't drink champagne but once a year. But if I would, it'd be a little bit of the bubbly. There's no doubt about it. So it'll be on my shelf in the back. I still have one bottle. If you are on the YouTubes, I still have one bottle I haven't opened yet. I might do that one maybe for when the XFL starts. Or, I don't know, some big milestone. Pro Wrestling News Hub gets 1 million page views a month. But I am putting the bottle there back on my shelf behind me as when we record the show on YouTube. And it'll be there. So I still have one bottle left. But it was good stuff. And speaking of good stuff, hey, the year is over. 2020 is done. Now we're into 2021. We have AEW Fantasy Wrestling. We've got the podcast. We've got, hopefully, things will start to clear up and we'll get fans in the stadium. I think they had their biggest crowd post you-know-what since this whole thing started at this event. We got 2 interesting New Year's events coming up. I don't know what the schedule is going to be for February and March when it comes to AEW. Are they planning on maybe starting to move around the country again? We will have to find out. And you'll be hanging with me to find that stuff out. So how do you get in touch with the show? You email podcast@prowrestlingnewshub.com with your MP3s or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. Cut off 6 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. iTunes will read it on the show, and make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It keeps me motivated, but actually it's starting to grow, and really appreciate all the feedback on the YouTube channel as well. It has been a tough week, I know, for you guys all. Remember, show notes, prowrestlingnewshub.com/AEW-podcast. Join us on the Discord, where we're hanging out talking fantasy AEW. It should be a good week. There is a dark scheduled for this week, so people will be able to get points for that. So have your friends join, and that's it for me, folks. Get on the Discord so that you can chat with us, and I'm taking feedback. You guys, you tell me how you want to see AEW Fantasy Wrestling go and be a part of that. I finally built it. You guys have asked me for years, going back to Impact Wrestling days, All Wrestling days. Pro Wrestling News Hub asked, can you do a fantasy wrestling? And now it is live, and it's here. That's how you kick off 2021, putting the old 2020 behind us and kick it off in style in 2021, even though everything, it's just been a kind of bummer week. We'll see how AEW Dynamite is this week. We have the new video game show coming out. Scorpio Sky has a podcast coming out, so I think there's going to be big things coming from AEW in 2021. That's it for me, folks. God bless. Stay safe out there. And I will see you all later.